Let me start with something that may feel very familiar. A quiet conversation. You're sitting across from a specialist. Calm voice, confident tone, nothing urgent, nothing dramatic. You're told that something can be taken care of. Not today, not immediately, but soon. It sounds reasonable. It sounds safe. And that's exactly why most people don't question it, because it feels like the right thing to do. But here's what often isn't fully explained. After the age of 60, your body doesn't respond to stress the same way it used to. Not in a dramatic way, not in a way that's easy to notice, but in a way that becomes very important when recovery begins. And that's the part most people are not prepared for, because all the attention goes to the procedure itself, not to what happens after. Let's slow this down, because understanding this one idea changes everything. When something is described as routine, that usually refers to the technical side. For the person performing it, it may be something they've done hundreds or thousands of times. But for your body, it is never routine. Every procedure creates a stress response. Your body shifts its priorities. Energy is redirected. Systems are temporarily disrupted, and your body begins the process of recovery. In younger years, this process is usually efficient. The body adapts quickly. It restores balance. It returns to normal. But after 60, several things change. Recovery becomes slower. Muscle strength is more sensitive to inactivity. Balance becomes easier to disrupt, and energy takes longer to return. Even short periods of reduced movement can have a noticeable impact. And here's something many people don't realize. That impact doesn't always fully reverse. Now think about that for a moment. It's not the procedure itself that creates the long-term change. It's the recovery period, the days after, the weeks after, sometimes even the months after. And that's where the real decision should be focused, not just on can this be done, but on what happens after it's done. Now let's talk about something that brings many people into this situation. Back discomfort. It's extremely common. Over time, it becomes part of everyday life. Sitting feels different, standing feels different, movement feels limited, and naturally people begin looking for a solution, something that can fix it. Some procedures aim to reduce movement in certain areas to relieve discomfort. And on paper, that sounds logical. If movement causes discomfort, limit the movement. But the reality is more complex, because movement is also what keeps the body functioning. And when movement is reduced, even temporarily, other systems are affected. Recovery requires time, strength decreases, flexibility changes, and in some cases, the improvement may not match expectations. Now here's what's important. There are often other ways to support the body before taking that step. Gradual strengthening, targeted movement, small adjustments that build over time. These approaches don't feel fast, but they work with your body, not against it. And over time, they can create meaningful improvement. Now let's move to something else. Knee discomfort. Another very common situation. Walking becomes less comfortable. Standing for long periods feels harder. Simple movements begin to require more effort. And again, the instinct is the same. Let's fix it. But here's the question that often isn't asked. What happens after? Even less invasive procedures still require recovery. They still involve reduced activity. And reduced activity leads to changes in strength, in coordination, in confidence. Sometimes improving support around the joint creates more stability than intervention itself. And that's something many people only discover later. Now here's a thought I want you to hold on to. Just because something can be done does not always mean it needs to be done right now. And that single idea can completely change how you approach decisions. Because time gives you something very valuable. Clarity. And clarity leads to better outcomes. Now we're going to go deeper, because what we've talked about so far is only the beginning. In the next part, we're going to look at something even more important. What happens when something is discovered unexpectedly? Let's continue, because this is where things become even more important. Sometimes everything feels normal, no major issues, no urgent concerns, and then, during a routine check, something appears, something you weren't expecting. It might not be causing any symptoms. You may not feel anything at all, but now that it's been seen, it becomes a decision, and most people react the same way. If it's there, it should be handled. That feels logical, it feels responsible, but here's what's often missing from that moment. Context. Not everything that is discovered becomes a problem, and not everything needs immediate action. Sometimes the body remains stable for years without change, and in those cases, observation is not inaction. It is a strategy, a careful, measured approach. Now let's talk about vision. Over time, changes in vision are expected. Clarity may decrease, light may feel different, and there are procedures that can significantly improve this. But even when something is helpful, how it is done matters. Doing everything at once may seem efficient, but it also increases the demand on the body. Spacing things out allows adaptation. It allows recovery. It allows you to see how your body responds. And that matters more than most people think. Now let's talk about circulation. Sometimes changes are detected that suggest reduced flow in certain areas. And again, the instinct is immediate action. But here's the key question. Is it causing a problem right now? Or is it simply something that needs to be monitored? Because there is a difference. And that difference determines the next step. Now here's something many people don't expect. Recovery itself can be the most challenging part. Not the procedure, not the day it happens, but everything after. Reduced movement affects strength quickly. Energy changes, confidence changes, and rebuilding that takes time, sometimes longer than expected. And sometimes not fully. That's why understanding recovery is just as important as understanding the procedure. Now think about this. The goal is not just to complete something. The goal is to return to your life, to your routine, to your independence. And that requires more than just a successful procedure. It requires a successful recovery. And that depends on many factors, not just one decision. Now we go to the most important part, because everything we've discussed leads to one question. How do you decide what to do? Now let's bring everything together, because this is where clarity becomes action. There are moments when something truly needs to be done. Clear situations where waiting is not an option, and in those cases, moving forward makes sense. But there are also many situations where there is time to think, time to understand, time to choose, and that time is incredibly valuable because it allows you to ask better questions, not just what can be done, but what happens if we wait? What are the real benefits? What are the realistic outcomes? What does recovery actually look like? And most importantly, how will this affect daily life? Because at the end of the day, that's what matters. Not just results on paper, but how you feel, how you move, how independent you remain. Now here's something important. Decisions made slowly are often better decisions, not delayed out of fear, but made with understanding. And if something is not urgent, you have the right to take that time, to ask, to learn, to get another perspective if needed. Not because something is wrong, but because clarity leads to better outcomes. Now think about your goal. Is it less discomfort, more movement, better quality of life? Now ask yourself honestly, will this step clearly move me toward that goal, or are there other ways to support that first? Because sometimes, the best path is not immediate action. It's gradual support, small adjustments, consistent habits, and those often create more stable results over time. Now here's the most important idea to leave with. The goal is not just to solve a problem. The goal is to protect your life as it is, your independence, your confidence, your ability to move freely. And that requires balance, not rushing, not avoiding, but choosing carefully. Now take a moment. If you or someone close to you is facing a decision like this, pause, ask, understand, and then decide. Because the strongest decisions are not made quickly. They are made clearly. Take care of yourself and take care of your choices. Because sometimes the most powerful step forward is knowing when not to rush.